to share with you is a white level reading book, and these are where we would need the children to be reading in order to meet the national guidance for the end of year 2. So they should be aiming for white books. So this one is a storybook. It's called The Picky Prince. So again, we talk about that. He's picky, he's a bit fussy. Here he is. He's with his queen and the king, and there's the prince. Then on the back, we've got the blurb again. Dinner time was always a problem at the castle. Nobody knew what the picky prince wanted to eat. One day, the king, queen, and the courtiers finally find out. So we try and explain what the word courtiers meant, the people who lived in the castle with the king and the queen, so the servants. So we start off, and this book is set in chapters because the children are a little bit more able. And again, by now they should be reading and developing fluency to become fluent, independent readers. So we start off, and we would hope the children would be able to sight read, and they would know lots of the key words, the high frequency and common exception words, but also they would be reading phonetically, but they would be able to do that quite quickly by now. So if I read the story. It was a beautiful evening. The sun was sinking like melted cheese over the castle. The picky prince went into the royal dining room. He sat down and he looked at the table. There were silver plates and golden bowls full of different foods. There were crunchy carrots and buttered beans. There was freshly baked bread and spicy sausage. There were fancy fruit muffins, sweet strawberries and ice cream. The feast smelled delicious to everyone but the prince. The prince banged his silver spoon on the table and sighed heavily. And we practiced that with the children. I want something special for dinner, he said, and it must be round. Round, my dear, said the queen. Round? Whatever next? Round, said the king. Whatever can you want? Sir Rodney Ramcastle clanked his armour and said, Your Majesty, I know exactly what the prince wants. Then go and get it right away, commanded the king and the queen. So we talk about the word commanded. Sir Rodney clanked off to the kitchen and came back with a silver tray. What's this? Asked the prince. Cannonball crumpets with battering ram jam, clanked Sir Rodney. Nice and round. The prince looked outside. The sun had set and the sky was red as tomato sauce. Then the prince looked at the cannonball crumpets. He dipped a finger in the battering ram jam and he licked it. Phew! Cried the prince. He crossed his eyes and spat the jam all out, all over. I want something round and gooey. Round and gooey, said Sir Rodney. Well, why didn't you say so? Whatever next, said the queen. Who else can help? The jester of jolliness jumped for joy and said, I think I know. I know exactly what the prince wants for dinner. Then go and get it right away, commanded the king and the queen. The jester cartwheeled off to the kitchen and came back with a big bowl. What's this? Asked the prince. Jellied eels in banana peels, laughed the jester. They're round and gooey. The prince looked at the jellied eels and the banana peels. They were slithery and slimy and cold. He picked one up and bit into it. Oh, phew, pouted the prince. He made a face like a rotten apple. This isn't what I want at all. I want something round and gooey and spicy too. The jester wasn't jolly now. Spicy, he said. No, jellied eels aren't spicy. So by now, the children know a little bit about the characters. So the prince is really fussy, and the courtiers are trying to help to find him something that he wants to eat. So we're on chapter 2. Outside, the moon was rising. It was as white as newly baked bread and as round as a slice of salami. It will soon be time for the prince to go to bed, said the queen, and he still hadn't had any dinner. The royal wig maker looked up. She fluffed up her sky-high hairdo and said, I think I know exactly what the prince wants. Then go and get it quickly, commanded the king. The wig maker went off to the kitchen and came back with a green bowl. What's this? Asked the prince. Hot hairnet soup, said the wig maker. The bowl is round, the soup is gooey and spicy. The prince looked at the soup. He dipped the ladle and took a sip. Phew, cried the prince. He gulped down the glass of water. That won't do at all. I want something round and gooey and spicy and extra chewy. Hot hairnet soup is spicy, said the wig maker, but it isn't chewy. No, it isn't chewy at all. And she shook her head. The queen sighed, and the king put his head in his hands. Who could help them now? The prince looked at them and said, There's only one person in the whole castle who knows what I want to eat for dinner time. Then everyone asked, Who? Who can it be? Who do you think? Said the prince. That person is me. I know exactly what I want for dinner. Hurrah! We'll make it for you right away, said everyone. No, said the prince. I can make it all by myself. So the prince pushed back his chair and marched past the queen and the king. He marched past the jester and the knight and the wig maker. He walked all the way through the castle until he came to the royal kitchen. The prince got out a bowl of dough, a bucket of tomato sauce, a wheel of cheese and a salami the size of an elephant's trunk. Then the picky prince rolled up his ruffled sleeves and he went to work. What is the prince cooking? Wondered the king and queen. I don't know, said Rodney Ramcastle, but it's bound to be round. And it's got to be gooey, said the jester of jolliness. And it's sure to be spicy, said the royal wig maker. This, said the prince, is my favourite thing to eat in the whole wide world. And you could get the child to then think what it is that the prince is going to eat. So it's something round, it's got cheese and it's gooey and it's spicy. Suddenly, a delicious smell filled the kitchen. Noses twitched, taste buds itched. Everybody crowded around the prince as he opened the oven door and pulled out his dinner. It's so round, declared Sir Rodney. It's so gooey, exclaimed the jester. It smells so spicy, sniffed the wig maker. Whatever can it be, wondered the queen and the king. It's pizza, said the prince, and I made enough for everyone in the castle. Delicious, grinned the queen. Delicious, laughed the king. Hurrah, cheered the rest of the royal court. But the prince did not say a word because his mouth was full of round, gooey, spicy, chewy pizza. So once the child has read the story, then you can talk about the words that are in there to explain and to gather what the child understands about the story. So how was the king speaking? If he commanded, he was giving a command. He was telling him to do something. And on this page where it says the prince looked at the soup, he dipped the ladle in and took a sip. Phew-ee! He gulped down it with a glass of water. Why did he drink the water? It's because the soup was too spicy for him. How did he walk when he was going to the kitchen? He walked quickly. What word shows you he was walking quickly? So it says he marched past the queen. So you're checking your child knows what those words mean. And why did they crowd around? Because they wanted to see what the prince had made. And how was everyone feeling at the end of the story? They were happy because they'd had some lovely tasty pizza.